Torrential rains occur every year and cause major disasters. Due to global warming, these events are predicted to become more frequent, with the damage from them also growing more severe. The heavy rains that hit western Japan in July 2018 were the worst in the past 30 years and caused tremendous damage. In addition, the Reiwa First East Japan typhoon brought heavy rains to the Kanto, Koshin, and Tohoku regions and caused heavy damage there. These kinds of disasters could occur anywhere in Japan, and they could happen to any of us at any time, too. In this video, you will learn about water disasters, their particular features, and what you can do to protect your life. Please think about your own situation as you watch the video so that you can protect your own life in the event of a water disaster. Many water disasters are caused by rivers overflowing during heavy rains. In other words, the water level rises and water flows out away from the river. The shape of a river can make parts of it more prone to overflowing. For example, how the river bends here, where rivers join together, places where a river becomes narrower, and places where an old river bend has been cut off to straighten the river. These places are at particularly high risk of flooding during heavy rain. It's important to know what the rivers flowing near you are like, so that you can be prepared for a water disaster. So then, let's take a look at how rivers overflow and how this causes damage. This is an example of what a river flowing in a city located on a plain looks like. The water level for a wide river on a plain does not rise as quickly as rivers located in mountainous areas, but its water level will continue to rise even after the rain has stopped. In regions protected by embankments or levees, the water level of a rising river may be higher than the homes built around it. When a river overflows in these places, the levee may break in the worst-case scenario, causing a large amount of water to rush out all at once and swallow the area. If this occurs, what happens inside flooded homes and buildings? This is a scene from the first floor of a two-story home. When the water level rises higher than about 80 centimeters above the floor, the furniture floats up and falls over. The tatami mats on the floor also float up, and it's difficult to move around inside the room. If the water level is higher outside the home, water pressure will push against the front door from outside, and you won't be able to open the door to get out. You won't be able to move around among the furniture and furnishings while the water level will continue to rise. Many victims of water disasters get trapped and die in their homes like this, unable to even escape to the second floor. Even if you can get outside, the area will be submerged underwater and look completely different. The water will be dirty, and you won't be able to see height differences or boundaries between roads and waterways, making it dangerous to try to evacuate on foot. If you find yourself in this situation, do not move about unnecessarily. Instead, try to get to the second floor of a nearby building or somewhere that is even just a little bit safer. This is the best thing you can do to protect your life. Next, let's look at the danger when trying to evacuate by car in a flood. You must also be careful when using a car to get around, as there is a risk of getting swept away or submerged underwater. Underpasses and other places that are lower than the surrounding area are particularly dangerous. The middle of an underpass may be deeper than you think, and you can't tell how deep it is because the water is muddy. If you inadvertently go into an underpass, your tires may float up from the ground, making it impossible to control the car, or your engine may flood and stop working, making it impossible to move. If your car starts to get submerged underwater, the water pressure from outside will prevent you from opening the door, and you may get trapped inside the car. If you become unable to control the car, it's important to immediately open the door and get out. Next, let's take a look at a large river flowing through a big city that overflows. Large rivers do not frequently flood, but when they do, they cause a lot of damage. There are also hidden water disaster dangers particular to large cities. One danger particular to large cities is due to the greater use of underground spaces, such as subways and underground shopping areas. A massive volume of water from an overflowing river can rush into these spaces like a waterfall. Underground shopping areas have several entrances. If water pours in even from just one of them, it will flood the entire underground area in an instant. In some cases, people have drowned because they did not realize in time that there was a flood and got trapped in the underground space. The heavy rains of July 2018 mainly hit western Japan and caused more than 200 deaths and missing persons, as well as severe damage. Many victims came from the area of Mabicho in Kurashiki City, Okayama Prefecture. A series of levee breaks caused flooding over a wide area, and 51 people lost their lives. These are stories from people who lived through the disaster.
超えることはあっても切れるいうことはもう全く考えてなかった。でニュースでなんか決壊したいうていうのを聞いたんですけど、いやお宅は決壊するわけないと思って、もう2階お付けだったんです。はい、2階におれば大丈夫かなというぐらいで落ち着いておりました。すぐ避難してくださいいうのが来たもんですから、これは逃げないけないと慌てて逃げたんです。はい、出たんですけども途中でもう道が混雑大渋滞で、1時間弱ですかね。その途中でもう水がブクブクブクブク言ってからもう道は使ってなかったですけどものすごい水が流れてたような状態で怖いなと思って、だからもう中は天井が全部落ちてしまってもう全部使ってしまってますから、結局屋根が出たぐらいだかなと思って思ったんですけど、2階を追ってもちょっとアップしとったかなって、早く逃げる。これだけだな。もう周りを気にせずに周りがあった周りを誘ってでも声を掛け合ってもうとにかく避難すること、これが一番だと思います。つくづく思いました。はい、
この辺りは大雨が降るとすぐ水が水位が上がるっていうのを分かってましたから、どうせまた多いだけで終わるだろうと、言い方はあれですけど高をくくっていたというんですか、はい、息子の車がもう水流で浮き上がって流されかかってて、門の先はもう水流が激しくてとてもじゃないけど大人の私でも出るとこれは流されるなと判断しまして、ちょっと助けを待とうと思って門柱の上に上がった次第です。はい、待ってる15分か20分の間にもうどんどん水位が上がってきて、門柱も浸かり自分の腰あたりまで水が来だし、この門柱だとちょっといろいろ流木というかね、家の壊された柱とかいろんなものが流されてきて、少しでも高いところへと上がろうと。はい、松の木にすぐ横にあったので、とりあえず松の木にしようと登っててっぺんですね。はい、今から考えるとそうです。もっと早く避難しとけばこんなことにはならなかったと。家は水害では使ったのはまだ変わりはありませんけど、そんな逃げ遅れるようなことはなかったと思います。
Thinking you'll be fine where you are, or that this time will be fine again, delays your decision to evacuate. To protect yourself from water disasters, it's important to evacuate before the disaster happens. What you can see from these two people's stories is that waiting too long to evacuate can end up risking your life. But you also need to be careful, because if lots of people decide to evacuate at the same time, people will get stuck in traffic jams and not be able to move. To protect your life in a water disaster, it's important to regularly think through how you would evacuate in an emergency. How you should evacuate changes depending on the disaster risks in the region where you live. Right now, let's check how you should evacuate. First of all, check the disaster risk where you live using the flood hazard map put out by your local government. The flood hazard map shows the areas anticipated to flood when a river overflows, the anticipated depth of the floodwater, the evacuation sites, and areas of danger when evacuating. Is where you live inside the anticipated flood zone or outside it? If you live inside the anticipated flood zone, check how high the floodwaters could rise in your home. If the floodwater depth is less than 3 meters, you can protect your life by evacuating to the second floor. But if you live in a one-story home, you would need to evacuate to somewhere outside your home. Next, decide what evacuation action to take in an emergency. If your home is inside the anticipated flood zone, the action to take when a warning level 4 evacuation advisory is issued is essentially to evacuate away from your home. If you have a place such as a relative's or acquaintance's house or a hotel to evacuate to, go there immediately. If you do not have another place to evacuate to, go to a designated emergency evacuation site. However, if a warning level 5 is issued, a disaster is already occurring, and it may be too dangerous to try to get to an evacuation site. Take the best action you can to protect your life at the time, such as moving to a safer location on high ground, or a building near you, or a safer location inside your home. As the name Designated Emergency Evacuation Site implies, these are places to evacuate to in an emergency when there is imminent danger from a disaster. If a disaster does occur and you need to continue the evacuation for some time, you can stay at a designated shelter, which is prepared to shelter people for a certain length of time. Outside zones that have disaster dangers, there are also many facilities that serve both functions. If you decide you can remain safe inside your home, even though you are inside an anticipated flood zone, you may also remain in your home. In this case, make a vertical evacuation, moving to the second floor depending on flood conditions. Moreover, you must remain alert even if your home is outside the anticipated flood zone. Watch for evacuation information and disaster and weather information from the government and take the necessary evacuation action. To evacuate means to avoid danger. In other words, to ensure your safety. People who are in a safe place do not need to evacuate. To make it easier to make evacuation decisions, we have made a pamphlet about the right evacuation action to take according to where your home is located, so please use this pamphlet. To make it easy for residents to understand the right evacuation action to take and when to evacuate, the evacuation actions that residents should take are divided into 5 warning levels corresponding to the danger of a disaster occurring. The information to guide evacuation actions, such as evacuation advisories, is made clear to make it intuitively easy to understand what action should be taken based on the issued information. Disaster prevention and weather information, such as information on heavy rains announced by the Meteorological Agency, is also released corresponding to the warning levels to provide useful guidance when evacuating at an early stage. This information is called information corresponding to the warning levels. Information corresponding to the warning levels is announced for a wide area of an entire municipality or river, but evacuation information, such as evacuation advisories, take into account local conditions and in principle are issued for more specific areas, such as school districts or local districts. For example, even if flood danger information has been announced for your municipality, low-lying areas close to a river have increased danger of a water disaster, but areas on higher ground away from the river do not have increased danger of a water disaster. Find out in advance the risk of a disaster occurring in your area and use the information corresponding to the warning levels to decide on your own whether to evacuate at an early stage. At Warning Level 1, stay alert for the latest weather and other information. At Warning Level 2, check your hazard map and find out where to evacuate to and the route to the evacuation site. Flood advisories and heavy rain advisories are announced by the meteorological agency. When your municipality issues preparation for evacuation information, this is Warning Level 3. The elderly and others who need time to evacuate should evacuate, and everyone else should begin preparing to evacuate. Flood alerts, flood warnings, and heavy rain warnings are announced as information corresponding to the warning level. When your municipality issues an evacuation advisory, this is Warning Level 4. Not only the elderly, but everyone should evacuate to a safe place away from the danger of flood and sediment disasters. If the danger level rises, evacuation warnings may be issued, but evacuation warnings are not always issued. It is important to take action when an evacuation advisory is issued. Flood danger and sediment disaster alerts are announced as information corresponding to the warning level. When your municipality issues disaster occurrence information, this is Warning Level 5. A disaster is already occurring in your area. It may be too dangerous to try to get to an evacuation site. Take the best action you can at the time to protect your life. Flood events and heavy rain emergency warnings are announced as information corresponding to the warning level. Evacuation information may not always be issued in time. Pay attention to the information released corresponding to the warning level, and do not wait for evacuation information to be issued from your municipality, but instead try to make your own decision about what evacuation action to take. Do not think you are safe because a Level 5 warning has not yet been issued. Complete your evacuation while it is still possible at Warning Level 4. To make sure that everyone can evacuate safely, all residents need to think about disasters as something that could happen to them. Regularly check your local hazard map together with your family and neighbors and find out where to evacuate to, what route to take during an evacuation, and how long it takes to get to the evacuation site. Pay attention to evacuation information, including from TV news, the emergency broadcast system, and area email alerts, and look for disaster preparedness information on the internet and elsewhere, keeping in mind to evacuate at an early stage. Evacuation information may not always be issued in time. Pay attention to rain and river information, and remember to use your own judgment in deciding to evacuate without waiting for evacuation information. Making a disaster and evacuation card is an effective way to be better prepared to evacuate in an emergency. When a community discusses the evacuation actions to take in an emergency, including the route to take to the evacuation site, areas of danger along the route, the right time to evacuate, and how to help people with special needs, and community residents make their own cards with this information, they are less likely to panic when a disaster is imminent and take the right action. Disaster and evacuation cards can take a variety of sizes and formats. The website of the Cabinet Office of Japan publishes examples of these cards from local governments that are already using them. Using these as guides, try making your own disaster and evacuation card. Seek out opportunities to participate in local disaster preparedness drills. If you take part in a simulation of an evacuation, you will be better prepared to make decisions and take actions calmly in an emergency. How to provide support and what roles to perform in evacuating the elderly, people with disabilities, and other people with special needs should be planned together with care managers, and this should be a part of the disaster preparedness planning for the entire community. Protect your own life yourself. Don't worry about overreacting. At warning level 3, the elderly and others who need time evacuates. At warning level 4, everyone evacuates. Talk to your family regularly about what to do in an evacuation so that everyone can take the proper action. Communities need to decide their evacuation rules, with everyone in the community taking action to protect their own life themselves.